let's talk MMOs. If we're gonna piss away $20 a month, let's talk about what's upsetting us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the MMOs, I'm pretty sure we both had this struggle. I'm sure a lot of people have had this struggle.
Yeah.
But I grew up loving MMOs, first off. So it's not like I'm some guy who doesn't like MMOs that's gonna complain about MMOs. I love them. I'm sure we spent way too much time playing World of Warcraft and things of that nature.
Wait, well, so I'm going to segue here again. Sorry. So what was your first MMO? What was the first one that you were like, I have to install the client, I have to ask for my parents' credit card? Like, what was your first jump into that kiddie pool of shame?
I don't know. I want to say, unless there's like a game I'm forgetting, World of Warcraft may have been the first technical MMO.
Right.
I mean, I was into a lot of games beforehand, like Diablo 2. I went hard with Diablo 2. But I think it was World of Warcraft that was the first one.
Yeah, mine was Ultima Online.
Yeah.
Very, very grindy, very old school. And then I got into, what was it? Anarchy Online and Lotro, Lord of the Rings Online, were right about the same time. No, I think Anarchy Online was first, and then Lotro came out. And I avoided WoW because I was like, no, there's no way. If I play that game, I am legit gonna get so hooked, and I'm gonna spend 16 years playing this MMO. Yeah, 16 years later, I'm still playing WoW. So
yeah, I actually was against World of Warcraft. I was against, I guess just MMOs in general, but really World of Warcraft because I saw so many people having that addiction. And so I almost had like that rebellious, like, nah, I'm not going to play that stupid game. I'm not going to be like all those people. And then eventually my friends, it got to a point where like all my friends were playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to game with them, that's what I'm going to have to do. So I tried it out and I was like, oh shit, this is really good. This is a good time. And I lost a lot of time to it. I actually came in, what was it? The Frozen Throne?
Oh,
Wrath of the Lich King. Yeah,
Wrath of the Lich King, yeah.
Yeah, I came in right at that. So that was my first thing. All my other friends were like in it since day one, but I was doing other games.
All right, sorry. So I totally derailed the whole thought with what was our first MMO? But yeah, go for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, from there, there was, I went into Aeon, however that's pronounced. Pre-ordered that, got super excited about that. Played that for quite a while. Then I needed a break from MMOs, and then I came back kind of off and on. Like it just became a game that I would periodically go check out another variation of it. Like I got really into DC Universe for a little while, like when I was going through the PlayStation phase and everything. And what was the other one? Champions Online. Yeah, I got into that for a little while. Not like a crazy amount of time, but for a little while.
Well, like City of Heroes, City of Villains, any of those?
I missed that. I heard so many good things about it, but I like missed that window because I went through there was like a phase where I was big on PC gaming. And then there was a phase where I didn't have a good PC and I was strictly like a console gamer.
Yep.
And then by the time I got back to PC, I missed like the City of Villains, City of Heroes. So yeah, I heard good things, just never got to experience it.
Okay, so sorry. So the original point I was trying to go for, sorry.
It's so good.
Pissing away $20 a month for an MMO subscription. Go.
Yeah. So lately, it's been really hard to justify having a subscription to an MMO because it's one of those, like, you're committed. If you're not playing the game as much as humanly possible, you can like feel that money just like burning away into nothing. And so I hesitate on that. I played a lot of like free to play MMOs and stuff like that, but they always find a way to get you. You play Elder Scrolls Online without a subscription. It's inventory management time.
It's that is the free to play version of ESO is legit. Do I loot this or not? And that is the game. And it gets frustrating. And yeah, and other free to play games,
they always have something that gets you. So it's hard to find like a good balance on that, but also I don't know if it's just like age or overall burnout, but I feel like every time I play an MMO, I get excited for like a little while, and then like a half hour into it, I'm like, oh, it's this. Okay, let me get 20 quests. Let me run over here. Let me kill this thing over and over and over. And I don't know, there's just something about them. Even when there's a new expansion like Shadowlands, I was super excited when I heard about it. And then now kind of sort of don't care. Maybe if I see more, that'll change. But I don't know. It's just that typical MMO, like, oh, it's new, but it's not. You're going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and I think let's focus on Shadowlands for a little bit.
Right.
I mean I've been playing WoW since late vanilla, early TBC. So I've gone through every expansion so far. I've gone through really all of the huge major game mechanics, the game landscape changes. I was in the same vein as you were. When Shadowlands was announced, I was stoked. Started doing a little bit of research, and then I pulled back because a lot of expansions I got really hard into alpha or beta stuff, and I spoiled a lot of the content so that when the game went live, I would sit down and play it. I'm like, I've done all of this. Like now it's just the bugs. Most of the bugs are gone. Like, it's not as fun. It's not as interesting. So with Shadowlands, I took a different approach. I wanted to stop reading about the data that Wowhead was being able to extract from the PTR client, or whatever quest lines or audio snippets or game developer interviews. Like I really wanted to pull back and be pleasantly surprised when I went into the game when it went live. But over the last couple of months, I just don't really care. And it wasn't something I saw. It wasn't something I've heard. It wasn't the generic online hate for anything that most online text-based communities, looking at you, Reddit, tends to often throw at people's way. It's not that I don't care. I'm just apathetic. I don't feel like I care, rather than I feel like I don't care. That's probably a better way of saying that.
No, that pretty much exactly sums up how I feel about it. I mean, I might eat these words later. Like if Shadowlands comes out and I try it and I go, oh wow, this is so good. This is so nice. But it's that like with World of Warcraft, I skipped out on like right after Cataclysm. I bailed. I liked Cataclysm. The difficulty spike, not necessarily for me.
Yeah.
It was, you could not get a group together unless every single one of them knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was just that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to fail this dungeon repeatedly for an hour and rage quit, and then try to find another group and have them be trash as well, and just waste so much time. And I got burnt out on that. So then I didn't come around for Mists of Pandaria and Warlords and stuff. And BFA got roped into it way late when Shadowlands already was hyped. I came back in. With that though, that means I came back and there was Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Legion. There was all those BFA that I could jump into and experience parts of. And even with all those options while leveling, I got burnt out again. Because it's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what they need to add for me to make it feel special and new. But overall, yeah, I can't get into that typical grind.
What about the pretense that, well, and this is more question than it is assumption. So are you, when you jump into an MMO or when you're jumping back into WoW, you consistently drink from the fire hydrant? I want to catch up on all the content I've missed. I want to see as much as humanly possible, and I'm going to do it for as many hours as I can until my eyelids fail me.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a lot of what it is too, just that typical grinding burnout, regardless if it's really fun or not. Maybe just too much of it.
Well, and MMOs are really, they're engineered for repetitive content. Like how many times, let's say World of Warcraft has 55,000 quests, right? I'd be very curious to see if someone can tell me what the percentage of kill X number of monsters to finish quest is of that 55,000 quest mark. Like that, the ingenuity behind what a quest could be or an activity could be is pretty technologically limited. It's going to be a lot of repetitive behavior. So, and I'm not too dissimilar from your perspective when I jump back into an MMO, especially one that I've spent 16 years on and off playing. I go hard. I go real hard, and I get burnout. I get tired of doing the same things over and over again. And games like World of Warcraft, where you can really only focus on one class with 2 trade skills, and if you want to do anything else or play any other character, you're going to have to go roll another tune, which means you're going to be doing all of the same stuff over and over and over again. And of course, I have like 25 alts across 3 different servers. So it's my burnout is real hard and real fast with something like World of Warcraft or ESO. It's not because it's a crap game or that the questing isn't rewarding or enriching or lively. It's that it's the same stuff, just slightly different text or a different creature model that I have to go kill 20 of to complete my quest. So yeah, that burnout is real frequent, real consistent.
Yeah, I will say with Shadowlands, maybe a lot of that is going to change, at least when it comes to alts though, because now where you create a character and you get to choose which expansion you're going to level, like what is it, 10 to 50. So that can break it up quite a bit. And I think that actually is that's huge.
Yeah.
But then I feel like from 50 to 60, it's going to be, that's going to quickly become the next burnout phase where it's like, oh yeah, I did this stuff. Maybe it was cool for like one playthrough, but then the grind happens where it's like, okay, I played through the story, I'm at end game, but now I got to grind reputation, or if I have to do an alt, let's do all that again. I don't know. I feel like it's the cookie cutter questing that I think kills me the most, when it's like, go talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to this person. Okay, you're done. Now go kill 20 of these things and then come back. Now go collect. Let's go collect bear teeth that have a really low percentage chance of dropping from bears, because a lot of these bears are gumming their ways around.
You realize that World of Warcraft questing is basically soccer parent, right? I have to go drop the kids off at school, and then in 6 hours I got to go pick the kids up from school, and then I got to go take one of them to baseball practice and one of them to soccer practice, and then make sure I get back to baseball practice in time, pick up McDonald's on the way, pick up soccer practice kid, drive home, let them eat in the car. It's soccer parenting. Like it's a massive oversimplification, but it feels like being a parent. Like I'm shuffling one kid here and shuffling one kid there, and no one's happy and no one's paying me real money.
Yeah. And then when you get to like the next town, it's just like the next day for that soccer parent. Yeah. It's like, okay, let's do all that again in slightly different ways, but the goals are the same.
Yeah, it's a piano recital and saxophone practice. Like that's what I've got to do on Tuesdays.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's just like my type of burnout, and maybe other people can just keep doing this for the rest of their lives and they're fine or whatever. But that's what I feel like a lot of MMOs, especially current ones, they all have that feeling where it's like, even Elder Scrolls Online, I love Elder Scrolls Online. Once you get into it, some things feel different. I think they do some things better, like the scaling, only because that allows you to go anywhere at any time. But then they kick you with okay, I make an alt. If I want to go get all those skill shards again or achievements or whatever, I got to go to those places and grind them again.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where it gets rough. That game makes you not really want to make alts unless you want to like really spend a lot of time or spend a lot of money reacquiring the things you need.
Yeah.
That you spent so much time already doing or whatever. Final Fantasy XIV looks to be in a similar vein as like World of Warcraft. But I don't know. I still got to play that more to feel if it's going to be as painful, because there's different leveling methods for that. Yeah. Like you can level an alt in a totally different way. So that might actually be like a really big saving grace for that.
And I don't know. Actually, I kind of want to leap on that point. So if anybody listening has not played Final Fantasy XIV, one of the things that I'm going to speak for you a little here, Ark, that I think that the two of us love so much is that you can create one character and you can play any class you want to with the swap of a weapon or a main hand piece of equipment. So if I want to go from a warrior tank over to a miner or a botanist to go farm materials, it's literally just swapping the main piece of equipment in my main hand, and I'm now that class. So I don't have to take care of 16 alts or you log in each alt every single day and do my 7 crafting dailies one by one. I can do everything on one character with a single click of a button and then go right back into the actual story quests, or I can tank dungeons or trials or whatever.
Yeah, and then with that too, you have like the level sync where if you're higher than a friend and you don't want to play an alt, or you don't have an alt at that level, you can just level sync and join them. Yep. And it's still beneficial. And I think that's, if I remember correctly, WoW does a variation of it, right? I think it's like what, it's 1 to 60, and then...
Well, time walking is the other thing that WoW does. Like 1 or 2 weeks a month, they'll do time walking events where like all the dungeons or heroic dungeons from the Wrath of the Lich King or Cataclysm is the current theme. So everybody can zone in and you all are level squashed and skill and numeric value squashed down to what that was during current content.
Yeah, I think that's a huge lifesaver, because I think one of the easiest ways to get burnt out, or not really get burnt out, but to get frustrated with MMOs, it's very hard to reach out to a friend, especially a friend who's like never played or something, and be like, hey, play this game with me. Just go through the story mode and grind out this stuff and get your gear up, and in 3 weeks we can play together, man. Yeah, like we can have a really good time.
Or if you do coerce that friend into joining you, you go hard for a week or two trying to level them, trying to get them through the main quest lines that they need to touch in order to get to end game tier, and then you gear them through regular dungeons or heroic dungeons or whatever. You get them prepped for mythic. And then by that time, the two of you have gone so hard, so consistently for a couple of weeks that everybody's now burnt out. No one wants to really play the game because it's felt like a fucking chore for 2.5 weeks.
Yep, that's the thing that makes MMOs really hard these days. That's where like New Worlds, I can't speak enough on Ashes of Creation, but like with New World, that's actually one of the MMOs I'm really excited for. Because it feels more free. Like you're not overwhelmed with 100 different quests.
Right.
You run around, and also I've always been more of a fan of like a live actiony kind of combat. I don't want it to be crazy live action. I'm not looking to jump in and play like Devil May Cry or anything like that, or God of War. But I like that mix up where it's like, okay, dodging, blocking, those things can matter. But it felt good because it felt like you could kind of go out and just focus on whatever you wanted to focus on. Nobody was going to tell you what to do if you didn't want them to. And you can level up different things. And then if you wanted to play a different style, just like with Final Fantasy in a different class, you just throw on a different weapon.
Yep.
And you get a different play style or whatever you're looking for. And that's what makes me think maybe a sandbox MMO is more of like a foundation that I'm going to appreciate more. I don't know if every MMO needs to go that way, but I feel like there's something nice about being in a big open world and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think
within reason.
Yeah, and I think that I may or may not have had any hands-on experience with New World. Plausible deniability is an important thing these days. That not said, I feel like New World has the potential of bridging that gap between the proverbial action RPG combat feel and the scope and scale and customizational, whatever that word will be.
Customizability.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll just throw a handful of words together and call it a real word. That you see in your traditional MMO. So like the crafting mechanisms are very, very similar to what Lord of the Rings Online did, more or less what World of Warcraft has done, which is, the more you craft in that tier, the better your skill becomes, the more you frequently level up, that kind of thing. So it's very simple in that perspective, but the potential depth of the game mechanics of New World are very, very interesting. Now, I will disclaim that I am not a big fan of Dark Souls-esque combat, that over the shoulder, dodge and block and time your maneuvers just right. That's not typically my favorite playstyle. But having or having not had hands-on time with New World, what I've seen so far, it actually does feel a lot more organic than what most MMOs, most action RPGs have out there, at least at this point in time.
Yeah, it's very it reminds me a lot of ESO, the combat of it, where you have the left click, right click type of block attack, stuff like that. And then you have an action bar to kind of like blend the live actiony stuff to it.
You have weapon swap. You have one weapon swap.
Yep. Eventually, I think you get 3, but yeah. So that might mix up a lot of things.
Right.
Hopefully, it doesn't get too crazy. Like that's one thing with ESO that like it felt like it was going good, and then it became way too dependent on flipping your weapons back and forth consistently in every engagement.
When I learned of the light attack weaving to cancel attack animations in ESO, that's pretty much the point in time that I lost. That ESO lost me. The fact that I have to get good gamer, min max, and I have to time my left clicks perfectly while I'm running through a 2 5-bar rotation of wonky ass skills. That's at that point that ESO, I was like, the crafting's amazing. I'll log on and do my dailies, but
yeah, it gets tough. That's one thing that drives me crazy with any game is when you learn that there's animation canceling.
Yeah.
And then you just have to start learning so much more about it. Drives me nuts.
All right. Well, so speaking of so much more, this is something that I'm fairly ignorant about. I've got some familiarity around it, but Ashes of Creation. There's a lot of hype being generated around Ashes of Creation. I first heard about the game about 2 or 3 years ago from an old coworker who had showed me the Kickstarter or whatever variation of crowdsourcing that they were originally under. And I looked at the scope and scale, 3 years ago, and I'm like, dude, there's no fucking way they're going to pull this off. There's absolutely no way. And then I've seen a couple of videos that are kind of showing some of the, quick little snippets and a little bit of the depth of what some of the game's core mechanics are. And in looking at just the 1 or 2 videos I've seen so far, I'm like, oh my God, I need a master's degree to understand how to actually play this game. What are your thoughts on Ashes? Like, how are you feeling towards it right now?
Ashes is one of those. It looks amazing in a lot of ways. It does look like it has that complexity to it where there's going to be a lot of learning downtime. But the way, at least to me, that it kind of feels so far anyway, is kind of like if you take New World and blend it more with like World of Warcraft. and then it seems to settle more into like a Ashes of Creation, just from what I've gathered so far, my impressions on it. Because they're gonna make a blend of live action combat with an action bar MMO style, like World of Warcraft style. So I think it's going to be kind of live action like New World, but I think it's going to be also more rotation action bar based like World of Warcraft, which I think might be really good, because sometimes the World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV combat style feels like you're just kind of standing there, you know, timing those button clicks at the right time and everything. And if you blend the two, that might be like really, really cool. And then the world itself, that's where it feels very, it seems like it's going to be huge like World of Warcraft, but it's going to have the foundations of like New World, where you're building up a city, and you and how many people in that area building up a city will determine how far in basic like tiers of technology and stuff like that place gets. So it's going to be like a little town into a city, into a huge massive thing, into like a kingdom. There's going to be like the taxes and like a king, all those things. Then you're going to develop like trade routes to other areas, and you have to protect the caravans. And so that's where it seems like it's going to be really in depth on like, okay, you know, Tuesday, 7:00, our guild is going to get together and we need to protect the caravan, and it's going to be like an hour-long trip over to the town we need to make it to. Stuff like that might be cool, might be a little overwhelming.
Right.
It could kind of go either way. And how I look at it is, if those kinds of things are overwhelming, but there's other things that you can focus on and still have a really good time, that's fine. Give something for everybody, you know, all those different tastes. And honestly, I feel like New World, we haven't scratched the surface on. And I feel like in the long run, it's going to feel like that Ashes of Creation. You're going to be building up towns, stuff like that. I think it's more of what you build up kind of your reputation and access to the town, more so than literally building up the town. I don't know. They both seem exciting. Ashes of Creation seems like they have a lot of things they want to do, but we'll see how much they can do. That's always the challenge. If you look back like on Wolcen, they had a ton of things they were promising the player, and then now that the game's out, it's not close.
Right.
And I'm worried that maybe it'll fall into something like that, but we'll see.